Welcome back, Rare Talks. You already know what it is. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't, make sure you go over to the Spotify and check out. Look. We're just going straight in. So we're talking about the Donald Trump speech that has just come after the day of his arrest. Following the day of his arrest, the Donald Trump speech. Now, let me just put this out there to everybody. Yeah, as bad as people will say Donald Trump is, yeah, I generally think that he'll be doing a better job than Joe Biden. Joe Biden at the moment is doing a terrible job of America's relations with the people around the world, and he's just terrible in general. I actually think he's an old man with dementia that needs to be taken out of office. But that's a whole nother episode for a whole nother topic, and we will be doing why Joe Biden is not the right person. Yeah, we'll do that in a minute. He's not a businessman. I don't think he's even a war man. I actually think strategically he's actually very not thinking straight. But anyway, it's a different topic for a different day. Donald Trump speech after his arrest. It's funny because he's running for office, and I don't know who it is that doesn't want him to join office, but they generally don't want him to join office. It is peak. But anyway, let's get to the speech and see what he's got to say.
Crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. Russia has...
Wait. So let's get to the first point. Now, what does it mean when it says that a currency is collapsing? What does that mean in the terms of actual mean? What does the actual mean? So I'll break it down to you. A currency collapses when a country's currency loses its value and becomes practically worthless in the day-to-day use. This is the general as a result of political or economic upheaval, hyperinflation, or war. You lot seeing the patterns? It's not a common occurrence, but we've seen it happen before in various places around the world. For investors, it's a risk to be aware of. Luckily, it's fairly easy to protect yourself against it. While technically the US dollar could collapse, its backing from the largest economy in the world and its status as the global reserve currency makes that highly unlikely. Now, let me tell you why this is very likely. Now, you don't know this, well, maybe you did, or maybe the Western media is not pushing this agenda or telling us what's really going on in the world, but there's actually something that's going on right now. Russia and China have linked. He's going to talk about it next, but yeah, that's what it means when a currency collapses. And also spoke about inflation. Now, inflation in the UK is gone up by 18%. 18%. I went to the shop recently to buy a drink. It used to be 49p. I think it's 65p now for a Boost. Yeah, I like Boost. Need that energy drink. Boom. I'm back. Yeah. 65p. 15p. In the space of like 3-4 months. Now, you might think, oh, 15p. Bro, if you're not rich, 15p is a lot of money. So, what is the inflation rate in the US today? The annual inflation rate in the US has increased from 3.2% in 2011 to 8.3% in 2022. This means that the purchasing power of the US dollar has weakened in the recent years. That means if the economy is weakening, so is its status around the world. Now, everybody can see this. That's why Saudi Arabia has gone away from the US and mended relations with Iran. That was a kick in the face. That was a kick in the face to say Joe Biden, because Joe Biden went to Saudi Arabia and started threatening them. Now, just remember, Saudi Arabia and the US have had good relations through the business of oil, because oil is the largest and the most lucrative business around the world. Whoever has oil has power. That's why they've been sanctioning Iran for all these years, because Iran ain't been letting off no oil to them. Yeah, it's a real oil war. Yeah, when America can't bully you, they start to sanction you and try to make you do weird stuff. That's why George W. Bush went into Iraq initially. There was no weapons of mass destruction. It was to pump our oil thing through there. If you look at the oil companies that came into Iraq at the time of the war, you'd understand what I'm saying. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so we're not going to go into all of the conspiracies that or should I say, the facts that we now know. Because it was a conspiracy then, it's a fact today. There's a difference.
Has joined with China. Can you believe that? Saudi Arabia has joined with Iran. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition. Would have never happened.
So yeah, another thing that's been happening in the world, while they've been throwing out all these things of Donald Trump getting arrested and trying to distract you, because what the Western media does is, when something big's happening in the world, and it could get reported over here, they put something else in the headlines. Like in the UK, I don't know, they're doing some woman called SMP, some woman's husband got arrested. I don't care. Tell me what's going on in the world, which is the reason why our gas prices have gone so high. Be honest with us. What have we done to destroy ourselves? Now, a lot of people don't know this. The cost of living has gone up because of the war in Ukraine. Now, you're going to think, what? Russians are so bad. No, listen closely. The UK are so dumb. The US are so dumb. They tried to sanction Russia. Now, Russia was one of the biggest suppliers of oil into Europe for a good price. Listen closely to me, because this is all business. You have to understand geopolitics to understand what is going on right now. If you don't understand geopolitics, this stuff's going to sound weird to you, and I'm going to sound like I do not know what I'm talking about. I do know what I'm talking about, so don't even try it. So understand this, people, yeah? That coalition that's happened between Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran is probably the East understanding what's happening with the dollar. Now, everybody sees that the West can go into any country into the world and bully them. But when Russia does it, you're going against human rights. Are we forgetting that George W. Bush lied to the people? He said there was weapons of mass destruction, went into a country and killed millions of people, displaced millions of people, and destroyed the Middle East as we know it. That was literally the start of the Arab Spring, which to this day has still effects on people in Syria. To this day. And we're sitting here thinking that these guys are good guys. See, the West has always got a way of making the East look bad. That's what they always do. Russia's these bad people, China's these bad people. Funny thing is, if I'm just correct, and this wasn't put in Western media because Western media don't care, Russia just writ off 35 billion debt in Africa. Do you know when you take someone out of debt, do you know what you're doing? You're giving them financial freedom. Because when they're in debt, the money that they get is paying off debts. So their economy is weak because they're paying off debts. Russia done that for them. Over 40 African leaders came to Russia to speak to Putin. 40. Recently, and this is just me throwing out some random news out there, the American, Camilla Harris or something like that, some American foreign minister, I don't even know who that is. She went to Ghana and caused problems with the Ghanaian people, telling them, you don't care about LGBTQ. Let me tell you something. The Ghanaian people, some of them are very poor. You coming over and telling them about gay rights and this and that. They want to know how to get themselves out of poverty. This is what China and Russia are doing. They're coming over and making financial solutions of how they can better their economy. You're coming over there to push agendas to try and destroy people's children, and people are not, in Africa don't accept that and don't play that game. Respect their customs and morals and keep it stepping. If you're not helping their economy, they don't talk about no LGBTQ. Ain't nobody got time for that. People got bigger fish to fry because people haven't got fish to fry. Understand that when I say that to you. So back to this coalition that's happened. North Korea are probably the most scariest out of everybody because North Korea do not play. Yeah, they don't play. They recently, I think, was sending like missiles and stuff all over the place, just testing it out, showing you like, raw, like we got our stuff, we got our nukes ready, and we'll nuke Japan because Japan is what is part of the US. Funny enough, Japan got bombed by the US, the Hiroshima bomb, but now they've got under there. Anyway, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But yeah, that's how the US bully people and try to get them to submit to them. But anyway, so this coalition that has happened for a reason. But the first coalition and the strongest one was China and Russia. And let me tell you why. China and Russia no longer share a common expansion ideology, but a realpolitik considerations are driving them together. Both are subject to American sanctions of various types. Both have also found themselves in the crosshairs of the Pentagon defense planners as a result of their assertive regional activities, with Russia mostly in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, and China mostly in Western Pacific, but partially across the region as far as the Latin America. Now, let me tell you why China don't like America. There's a little country called Taiwan, little country, and Taiwan, they are one of the, let's just say for argument's sake, the biggest creators of something called a semiconductor. It's called a microchip. A microchip is in the camera, a microchip is in this roadcaster, a microchip is in your watch, a microchip is in your phone. Microchips literally run the world. Microchips, the real origin of where they actually come from is Congo. Let's just put that out there. But the country that designed them to be put into different electronics, Taiwan, has 70% of the semiconductors in the world come from Taiwan. Taiwan's a little country that's right next to where? China. Now, Americans China's been saying that this is a Chinese dynasty and we want to take it back. So what America's done, what they usually do, is they've been pumping Taiwan full of weapons. Yes, full of weapons, ready for a war. But they don't want a war with China because China is a mega force to be reckoned. This is what the US do. And they have been told you, they've been telling you these underhanded movements they've been doing. But it's well known if you do your history and you do your research and you understand what's really going on. Now, the people in Taiwan don't want no smoke with China. But there's an agenda and people out there, and I always call it the CIA, the Central Intelligence. These people been doing coups and doing weird stuff all around the world. They've been funding weapons to Taiwan to say, and the US been saying, we'll back you, Taiwan, if China invades. This is the thing about the US here and other countries. They will act like they're with you, and then they will let you drown at the end. Ukraine is getting demolished. They were better off going with the Russians than going with NATO. NATO hasn't done anything for them. They think they're fighting a war. They're losing. They're getting destroyed. And it's only getting worse as Russia put on more and more pressure. It is getting worse and worse and worse for them. But anyway, back to this Donald Trump.
Destructive coalition would have never happened if I were your president. Would never have happened. Nor would Russia attacking Ukraine have happened. All of those lives would be saved. All of those beautiful cities would be standing. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There will be no defeat like that. That will take us away from being even a great power. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done.
Now, let me say something. In everybody, there's truth. What Donald Trump has said, the Biden administration has been probably one of the worst. It's been so bad that it's made all of the Middle East link up to fight. That's how bad it has become. Sanctioning Russia was the stupidest thing they ever done because Russia has been preparing for the US invasion because the US hate Russia and they hate China because of communism. They don't like communism. Communism is giving money to the people. Capitalism is giving money to a rich set of people. They want to keep the poor poor and they want to keep the rich rich. Yeah, George Bush, America in a bad situation. And I keep saying George Bush here because I need you lot to keep remembering that name. That guy went to the Middle East and caused nothing but problems. You see, they can see the same thing happening with Joe Biden. Only difference is that we've seen this plan that you've done before against Saddam and Gaddafi, but we're not letting this happen now. So they're all linking up with one plan. We're not going to get bullied by the West anymore. Now, you have dumb people like Rishi Sunak that I did not vote for and I did not put in power that are saying reckless things like, yeah, we sent 2.3 billion over to Ukraine. 3 billion to you? For what? We're in a living crisis. A man's sending money abroad. And that shows you that our currency is damaged and our currency is finished. Hyperinflation is when your currency is collapsing. That's what happens. That's why if you go some places in the world, you give them £1, they give you 2,000 South African dollar or whatever dollars. And you're like, bro, like this is a lot. For bread, people are spending like 10,000 for bread. That's when your economy is collapsing. And we're on the road to that unless we fix our relations with the Middle East. And the Middle East are the guys who have the oil. Now, even recently, India, you know, are jumping on the bandwagon saying, yeah, we're on it as well. India, you know. India's always had good relations with the UK and all them people, but nowadays they're breaking away because the Middle East is seeing the frauds of the West for who they really are. So all I can say right now is, like we said before, there is a world war happening at the moment. It's not getting done how you think it is. It's not getting done by bullets. Ukraine and Russia, that's a whole different war. That's neo-Nazis versus Russia. That's a whole different subject to even get into. We'll do videos on that as well. But this one right here is the Trump speech. And Trump is not having it. And I think that they should put him back in president because anyone's better than Biden right now. Anyone's better than Biden. And like I said, Trump is a businessman, so he would fix the business issues that he has with the relations of the other countries. Anyway, Red Talks, you already know where it is. Bow, we're out.